Okay, so as we're looking at the ark, it's appropriate that we spend a couple days on the ark because it is the greatest volume of verses of content in the story. So the ark's a big deal. Yesterday we looked at the fact that the ark is brings deliverance, and we talked about just the word itself and what it means. Only used twice in the Hebrew Bible. We're going to compare it now to the temple, which is its next symbolism. So this vehicle, this mechanism of deliverance, is also a place where worship occurs, and where salvation occurs. And so let's tease that out a little bit. Probably one of the best New Testament reflections on Noah and the ark is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 7, where it just simply says that by faith, Noah, being warned by God of the things not yet seen, right? The whole point of Hebrews 11 is that faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Faith is not trusting the things that are seen. It's trusting something that we can't see. I trust God. I can't see him. I trust that God's got a plan. I can't see that plan. I can trust that it's going to unfold. I can see how the plans he's made in the past have unfolded, which gives me confidence to trust now what I can't see about the unfolding future I live in. So the whole chapter is built around that. And says, because of that, in reverence, Noah prepared an ark for the salvation of his household. For the what? For the salvation of his household. So here's this ark that brings salvation. Now we're going to compare that to the temple or the tabernacle, and then eventually the temple. But the next thing that happens in the narrative, right, Moses goes to Mount Sinai. The children of Israel, in context, are being delivered from bondage in Egypt. Moses goes to Sinai, he gets the 10 Commandments, and he gets instructions on how to build the tabernacle. The tabernacle was a structure that was mobile. It was mobile. It was a tent called the tent of meeting. A tent of meeting who? The tent where the meeting of God occurred. And so this tent would be the place that the Israelites would pitch and then take down, travel in the desert, pitch again. A cloud would come down, fire would lead them by night, cloud by day. These symbols of moving through the chaos of the desert. So here we have two chaotic places. One, chaotic waters, Noah and the ark and the flood, and the chaos of the desert. Israelites flee Egypt, bounty and provision and food, even though they're in exile. Now they're launching into this move of deliverance from bondage into the promised land, but they have to go through the chaos of the desert. And what does God do? He provides food for them. What did God ask Noah to do? Put food on the ark. So here's a similar salvation story. So here's some comparisons to what happens. The ark moved, it was mobile, and it took Noah and his family through the chaos of the flood. The temple, or the tabernacle, moved, and it took Moses and the Israelites through the chaos of the desert. So both are mobile sanctuaries. In both cases, both tabernacles were commanded by God, build this, and given specific instructions. And both men, Noah and Moses, it says, found favor with God. And it says both men did exactly as God had commanded them. So some pretty strong similarities. Both were opened, okay, kind of their inauguration after the flood, after building the temple. Both were open for business, kind of open for the next chapter on the first day of the new year. Why would that detail be there for us about the ark if He was not wanting us to connect that, oh, that's the first detail here also. And we're going to continue to see that happen throughout the biblical narrative. The ark functions as a substitute cosmos, as a substitute refuge for this world that's going to go through chaos and destruction and renewal. And the first thing Noah does after leaving the ark is to worship. The ark is this symbol that shows us a place. At the door of the ark, Noah builds an altar and worships. We're going to look at that more tomorrow. But today, would you pause and just reflect on the fact that Jesus creates a space for us, a space called grace, a space called forgiveness, where we are atoned for, our sins are atoned for, and God makes a place for us to discover Him. Interesting last little piece about this. The instructions to Noah was build an ark, make an ark of gopher wood and pitch it with gopher. So gopher was a kind of pitch that would go over the boat to kind of seal it. Sounds like Dr. Seuss, doesn't it? Make it of gopher, pitch it with gopher. That word gopher is called a homonym. There's another word in the Hebrew language spelled a little differently, but pronounced just the same. Gopher, gopher. In the temple, in the tabernacle, it would have 3 layers: an outer layer, the holy place, the most holy place. And in that most holy place was the Ark of the Covenant. And it had a lid. In our Bibles translate this, the lid of atonement. It's where sacrifice is made once a year for the sins of the people. It's a sacrifice. And that lid, that atonement lid, covering for the Ark of the Covenant, is gopher. It's the same word. It's the same word as make it of gopher, pitch it with gopher. Gopher covered the ark to seal it in. The atonement lid of the Ark of the Covenant is where the sacrifice once a year would be made for the sins of the people. Cover it with gopher. The verbiage is the same. Make an ark, Noah's told. Make an ark, Moses is told. Pitch it with gopher. Cover it with gopher. There's a connection. And the connection is this: God rescues us through Jesus. The gopher sacrifice, the atoning sacrifice. He covers us. Just as Noah was covered on this ark that took him over troubled waters, so you and I are covered with the atoning sacrifice of Jesus, so we can get through the troubled waters of our life. I don't know what kind of waters might trouble you today or in this season, but I know that God has got you covered. Covered by His grace, covered by His mercy, a process of deliverance, if you'll receive it. Receive with me today God's atonement, that He has covered us with His grace by His sacrifice, so we can enter into a new creation. We are His new creation. 2 Corinthians 5:17. We love you, Lord. Have a wonderful day. Celebrate today a little bit that God has made you new.